Well, I've done a lot of it, haven't I?
So it might feel like a bit of a funny question, but we're asking everybody at the start, who is Andy Murray to you?
He's my wee boy.
Well, he's my brother, little brother. A lot of people think he's my older brother, but he's my little brother.
To me, he's my husband and the father of my 4 children.
I think first and foremost, Andy Murray is a great friend of mine. Having known him from a young age, I think that's what's been sort of very interesting and exciting, and is to watch the journey. And it has been, it's been an incredible journey.
When my kids were small, I really wanted them to enjoy sports. Sport's been a huge part of my life.
Well, it's fun. I mean, we were only 15 months apart, so it wasn't like that physical difference, really. You know, we were able to do a lot of things together.
I mean, the boys were great at inventing games to play in the house with whatever was lying around the house. And they were really good at creating their own scoring systems and rules. And Andy was particularly good at changing the scoring system and the rules whenever he was losing.
My mum was a coach at Dunblane, and eventually we started playing tennis and got like quite serious at some stage.
I always say with Andy that I'm pretty sure he became the uber competitor that he is in everything that he does, because he had an older sibling who was a bit bigger, a bit better at most things than him through their formative years.
I think probably we did push each other, but of course at that age you're not really aware of that. You know, certainly at tennis I was better until I was about 12, so I think he had that sort of person to try to aspire to beat, which maybe is where he got some of his competitiveness from.
When he went off to Andorra to play for Great Britain in the European Team Championships under 16, Rafa was playing for Spain, and the two of them after the final went off to play racquetball. And Andy came on the phone after that game of racquetball, and it was, would you pay for an international call from Andorra? And of course immediately I'm thinking he's lost his passport, he's lost his wallet. He's, like most boys, doesn't really phone very often. So I went, what is it? What's happened? And he said, about playing racquetball with Rafa, and he doesn't go to school, he trains at the American Tennis Academy, he gets to hit with Carlos Moya, he trains in the sunshine, and what have I got? You and my brother at the university. So I blame Rafa, completely blame Rafa for this. He chose the Sanchez Casal. When he went over for the little trial, he played 2 sets with Emilio Sanchez, who's former top 10, and I sat in the cafe and let them go off and do it, and came back, and Emilio said to Andy to go and have a shower. He said, I want to talk to your mum. And he sat down and said, well, I've never seen anything like that before. And I thought, oh no, what's he done? And I said, what did he do? And he said, he beat me 6-3, 6-1. He said, we got to 3-all in the first set. He said, it took him 6 games to work me out. And he went, he absolutely destroyed me. He said, it's never happened to me before with someone as young as that to be so tactically astute. But Barcelona was brilliant for him because he was, very importantly, a very small fish in the very big pond of Spanish tennis, Barcelona tennis, where in Britain it's very easy to become the big fish in the very small pond of British tennis, and that's a dangerous place to be.
Absolutely.
That's a good quote, that one actually, isn't it?
That one's making.
Make sure you use that one.
I remember Andy bursting onto the scene that first Wimbledon 2005, but my dad's a tennis coach, so I was very much kind of focused on what was going on with his player at Wimbledon that time, so I wasn't massively interested in what he was getting up to.
You know, I remember the weekend before the tournament started, and we walked past the centre court, and of course it's quite deserted on the weekend before, so there's no crowds in, and he went, I want to play in there, Mum. And I said, oh, you might have to wait a few years for that, Andy. And he went, why? And I just laughed, and there we were a week later. He was on that centre court on Middle Saturday playing David Nalbandian, who was the world number 4. And I remember where I was sitting in the player box, and thinking of all the times I've watched the highlights at Wimbledon and seen people in the player box and never would have ever imagined I would want to sit in there watching my kids play. And with my right eye, I was on the court and my left eye was on the royal box because Sean Connery was in there. And there was this whole thing of thinking, James Bond is watching my boy playing tennis, and I couldn't quite get over that.
I first saw him play live at the US Open that same summer, and his first match was against Andre Pavel. It was a 5-set epic, and he projectile vomited on court right in front of me, which was an interesting start, but it was thankfully down the other end of the court, not directly in front of me. Can't believe I stuck around after that, but it was, you know. The following February, we went to San Jose together, where he ended up winning his first title. I was doing my A-level, so I think I was we were both 18. Literally went on our own. And it just felt it was like us against the world in that moment. It was quite, I've got really nostalgic memories of it.
To be playing at the level he was at such a young age, you'd think that things are moving in the right direction. I remember when I did hit with him for the first time, it struck me, how comfortable he was, and it looked like how much time he had on the ball. That's an attribute that you see in a lot of sport with a lot of great players. They look like they've got more time. I think it was a pretty safe bet that he was going to be a world-class player, and it was just a question of how much he was going to achieve in the future.
People came to really respect his fighting spirit, his commitment to the game, his commitment to his country, and he built an enormous fan base.
Andy Murray in the most spectacular style, and he's created history.
Ridiculous career, really. Lots of kind of trials and tribulations, but I think, kind of generally got over the challenges that he was faced.
That mental fortitude just to continue to take those challenges head on, and those challenges were Federer and Nadal and Djokovic at their very best. I think the favourite memory has to be 2013 at Wimbledon. Inevitably, whether you were, a fan or a friend or, just someone watching on television, the intensity of the occasion was massive.
Second match, Murray. 3 sets still out.
But I remember, it's just that disbelief, I think, and I think that was truly what that was all about. I couldn't, you think, am I going to cry in that moment? How are you going to respond? But at the end of the day, it's just like a emotion that pours out of you.
After all the efforts that he'd put in, after losing the year before, after all the years of listening to, but when are you going to win Wimbledon? But what about Wimbledon? And then he actually went and did it. Yeah, get in, son.
I really struggle now to watch Andy play. I think probably as being a mum and having 4 other little people to worry about, I find it unbelievably stressful. I've never known anyone rise to a challenge like he does, and I think he is at home when his back's against the wall and he's having to scrap for things, and I think that's obviously what's made him great. I just feel sick when he plays, to be honest. It's a truly unpleasant feeling. And also he just does his best to make matches difficult to sit through, which is probably for the general public and impartial spectators maybe quite thrilling and addictive, but for those closest to him it's just unbearable.
Murray wins another marathon. He's done it again.
What are you most proud of Andy for?
I don't know, that's a good question. I think for not even so much for all the victories and stuff, but I think just more so many, I don't know, just it's hard to say that.
It'd be very easy to say you're proud of all the victories and the trophies and world number ones and all that sort of stuff, but I think the way that he conducts himself, the way that he's a great guy. You know, he has remained incredibly true to his roots, humble. You know, considering the world in which he has operated for a long time, where it's very easy, I think, to lose the plot of where you are. He has remained very much that kind of canny, thoughtful, under the radar Scot.
I mean, I've said it before as well in interviews and stuff, but yeah, I guess like for me it's just like seeing how much he's impacted people and that support that he's had. It's not easy to do that, you know? And especially like for us to be from, you know, a small country. You know, I think of like just the support that he's had at, you know, at Wimbledon or playing in Scotland and Davis Cup matches and stuff. Like it's incredible, and he's handled it like so well. Like I don't think people would understand kind of the pressures that maybe takes on him as he's trying to kind of achieve his goals, I guess. And yeah, he's done amazing. Incredible stuff.
I'll get back home tonight, see my kids it's for Father's Day. So hopefully they'll get in before their bedtime and get a rest day tomorrow and get pumped for Queens. And oh my God, I didn't know they were here.
I almost view them as two different people because he's at home, he's an incredibly loving, patient dad, and then he's a completely different person when he steps on a tennis court.
He's very confrontational. He's always borderline angry on the court, and Andy away from the court perhaps talking about something different. He's got IQ and he's got EQ, and I think his sort of emotional intelligence is something that people don't get to see, and he's very thoughtful. He's someone that's a lot of fun to be around. So I think there are two very different personalities. I think sometimes, I perhaps enjoy the off-court Andy more than I enjoy the on-court Andy.
He can move like a gazelle if he's chasing a tennis ball, but if you watch him like running across a road, he looks like he's in pain and he doesn't know how to run. He's like, and he's just, he's like a kind of, a lot of the time he doesn't hold himself like an elite athlete, but I think that's part of his charm. He's a totally normal, down to earth, dad and husband, and that's why we love him.
Yeah, and he's annoying as well. He argues black is white just for the sake of it. He's really, really world class at that. Yeah, no, he's great fun. I wouldn't swap him for anything.
Last one. Super. Well done.
Very last thing. Is there anything on the day that he does retire, if he does, that you'd say?
The thing, what would I say? I'm proud of you, are we done now? It's like, that's probably, because it's really hard, it's a hard decision to make, and it's like, it's never going to be easy for anyone ending, any career, but especially athletes, it's notoriously difficult. Yeah, I just hope he's happy with the decision he makes at the time, and it's like, he can get on and help me with the school run now. That's nice.